Just trying to take my top off, guys. Ah. Alright guys, hi, it's me, and today I'm going to talk to you about my 10-month transformation. Yes, I'm going to expose exactly what I did, how I trained, what I ate, what supplements I took, and just in general what I did in those 10 months. I mean, when I posted that picture that you saw in a thumbnail on my Instagram, people were like, what? No, never. Steroids, this, that, like supplements that I've never even heard of. I'm now 32. I've been training since 18. I would say properly since 2009. So what's that? How many years is that? 7 years ago, right? So I've got the muscle. The muscle's there. It's just the last 10 months of this transformation, I really stepped it up, right? My off season was like great. Best off season ever. Best off season ever. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did, and hopefully you can take these tips I'm going to tell you straight into your off season, your bulking season, because it's winter now and it's time to cover up and build that muscle. Well, ignore the mess in the back. That's all the kids stuff. But yeah, that's first of all, I'm going to talk about my training split and how I kind of devised that over the 10 months. So what I did to start off with, I like to break each muscle group on its own. So I train 6 days a week during my off season, 6 days a week, and I separated my back on its own. I had chest on one day, leg on the other, shoulders on another, arms, and obviously legs as well. So that's 6 days. I shuffled that around throughout the week, depending on how I felt, because if I did say back on Monday, chest on Tuesday, sometimes I would be able to do the shoulders on the Wednesday, another pressing movement. But if I was too sore from the chest, sometimes it hits your front deltoids as well, I would put legs there instead. So yeah, it all depended on how I felt during that week, and if I needed a rest or if I needed to move around muscle groups, I would do so. I mean, I had a plan for the week, but sometimes plans don't work out as you want them. My rep range does not change, guys, in my bulking phase or my cutting phase. It does not change whatsoever. My average rep range is 15 reps. That's average, so sometimes we'll obviously go lower, sometimes even higher. Like I like the 22 rep range as well. But yeah, I like some of you may know already, I like to incorporate a lot of drop sets and supersets in my sessions. Like literally the blood is just incredible, the pump is mad. That's how I train, and that's how I went from one picture to another in 10 months, 7 kg up. But yeah, so that's my training. Okay guys, food is really important. I mean, I can't actually explain how important it is. There's a lot of guys I see training really hard in the gym, but they just don't eat properly, and they just stay the same, you know. So yeah, so food's really important. Over that last 10 months, I went in. All right, my off season, I average around, my calorie count was about 3,000 to, on a low, that's low, to about 5,000 or 6,000, all depending on what I was training and if I went out to eat. But like many of you may know, I like to stay in okay condition. I don't put on too much body fat. If I do, I will either reduce the calories or start introducing a little bit of cardio within the week. Not too much though, because I want to build some muscle. So food wise, my ratios would be, say 30% will come from protein out of these calories, about 50 to 60 from carbs. I like a high carb diet. And my fats will be like 10 to 20% coming from fats. For me, carbs, it grooves my body. You know, once I put the carbs in my body, it gives myself that much more energy to push, to train harder, to train for longer as well. My training Also, sorry, just to go back, my training sessions were a lot longer off season as well. A lot of people say, 45 minutes to an hour is fine. But for me, personally, I like to go a little bit longer to really smash the muscles to pieces, because I only train it once a week. So I smash it to pieces, like batter it. Sometimes I'm in the gym for 2.5 hours, guys. Yeah, sometimes, I'm just saying. But yeah, so it's going back to the food. Let's go back to the food. That's my macros, about 30, 50 or 60, to 10 to 20% for the fats. That's my split throughout the day. And cheat meals, I have cheat meals, yes, of course. Cheat meals, I would normally have 2 to 3 times a week. I normally have it post-workout, so after my session. But sometimes if I have it twice in one day, I'll have it before and I'll have it after, on that same day sometimes. But again, just sometimes it all depends on your kind of metabolism. For me, I've got a high one, so I burn calories quite quick. But if you haven't, then just be wary of cheat meals and your calories. You know, if you like to eat, then introduce some cardio so you can stay relatively lean. I don't believe in getting fat off season, because it just makes that cutting phase so much harder. Plus, you can't even see what you're building. You know, how do you know you need more shoulders or more triceps or more forearms? You just don't know, because it's covered with fat. So yeah, so make sure you don't get too fat, guys, whilst you're in your bulking season, because I know some of you are going to be bulking right now as I talk. All right, let's talk about the types of food that I ate as well throughout my off season, being like 5 months. Carbs. Let's start with carbs, my favorite type of food. So I went from my off season, I would have a lot of like refined stuff. So white rice, I would have jacket potatoes, even pasta as well, and sometimes I would incorporate bread as well. You know, oats I always had throughout. My whole every day I have oats. Just love it in the morning. But as I moved from my carbs from off season to kind of my cutting phase, I would switch it up. So I would start to introduce my sweet potatoes and my whole grain rice, and I'll replace that with some of my white rice or jack potato meals. And then as I get closer to say that, you know, where I want to be, it will be totally replaced with sweet potato and whole grain rice. That's how I like to do it, keeping my oats in the mornings. Yeah, so sometimes as well, one great one, sometimes I even have oats post-workout with steak. Now you take that and use that. I was going to say something else. You take that, oats in a big bowl, so say 100 grams of oats, which gives you 60 grams of carbs, nothing, in a bowl with water, maybe milk if you want, and a big old like steak ribeye, just boom on the plate. 1 spoon of oats, a little bit of steak, 1 spoon. I'm telling you now, you try it, guys. And even if you sprinkle a little bit of this is off season, a little bit of like say salt on your oats as well, you know, it gives that a little bit of taste. But anyway, yeah, just thought I'd add that bit for you. Moving on to proteins on my off season. Yes, you heard it. I eat whatever off season protein wise, from burgers. I do have like cleaner now and again. Steak, I like to introduce ribeye because they're a little bit more fatty and it tastes great. Chicken, just have legs or thigh sometimes. So yeah, I introduce fatty types, but also have a little bit of cleaner types as well, just because you feel better as well with inside. And if sometimes when you eat that stuff after, you're like, ugh. So it's good to clean it up now and again. But yeah, going on to when I'm starting the cutting phase, say 12 to 10 weeks out, yeah, I'll definitely introduce my lean meats, my chicken breast, my turkey breast, my cods. Yeah, sometimes I have some salmon as well, and still have steak. But I have like either rump normally or sirloin, and I just sometimes cut the strip off. But if I'm feeling hungry, I'll have the fat. But yes, fats as well. Off season, so off season fats, I don't really go too high anyway, but again, they might come from the protein, the meats off season. I don't really like to add in too much like olive oil or coconut oil if I'm having that type of fat but I do sometimes because you need a bit of good fats. But when it gets to the cutting phase, that's when I kind of keep track of my fats a little bit more, and I obviously don't minimize the consumption of fat from my meats, but I add in the good stuff like from olive oil or coconut oil. I like to cook with the olive oil. Even though you can cook with both, I like to more cook with the olive oil, and then with coconut oil kind of add to my meals, like through a spoon, just go pop onto the meals and just eat it with the meal itself. So that's my fats covered. And yeah, so 7 to 8 meals a day. Separate all those foods that I've mentioned through like meal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, mainly 7, but 8 say off season, and I mix it up. There's no right or wrong. I would be, the only advice and guidance I would give is in your off season, or even your cutting phase as well, especially, I'll have more my low GI kind of carb sources. That meaning the carb sources that kind of last longer in your body, just to kind of fuel your workouts, and my kind of refined white stuff after, to really kind of replenish your energy stores, you know, because it gets straight to the muscle a lot quicker and it uses it a lot quicker. So that's the only kind of guidance for that. But otherwise, I just kind of spread out my meals, my foods within my meals for the week, and then just enjoy it. I have each meal every 2 to 3 hours, depending on how many meals I want to eat that day. Yeah, sometimes, to be honest, my off season, sometimes you might even miss a meal. If you miss a meal, I just have a big meal. That's how I do it, off season especially. If you're cutting and you miss a meal, I mean, I would sometimes just stay up a little later and just get it in. I'll try to avoid putting 2 meals together, just because I don't want that, especially late at night as well. All right, guys, let's talk about cardio. So during my cutting phase, I like to introduce a lot of cardio. For me, just because I like to still consume my food, I introduce cardio. So what I do, I normally start off, say, with 3 hours a week, and I'll build up to about 10 hours a week. Say if I've got my competition in a week, 1 week out, I'm actually doing 10 hours that prior to that competition. So I build it from 3 hours all the way to 10 gradually, keeping my food near enough the same. Sometimes obviously I like to carb cycle as well, do 3 low days, 1 high day. That's how I like to do it with my cardio, and which really helps me just lean up and keep my muscle, because the high carb days will really kind of try and maintain as much muscle as possible, because it's hard to do if you're doing a lot of cardio and you're in a deficit. But definitely high carb days, refeeds. So literally high carbs, boom, smash it in, 600 grams carbs, and then I go back to the grind, hitting it low, hitting it real low, burning that body fat. With my cardio, I like to do fasted. So that means before breakfast. My main source of cardio is uphill walking. You may have seen me on my Instagram stories filming it, but incline walk, normally about 15, an average of 4.5 kilometers to 5 kilometers per hour. That's speed. And I'd sometimes do that for an hour, mainly 1 hour, just uphill walking, watching YouTube or listening to some motivational music. But yeah, I get it done. I just get it done. And if I do it in the evening, so when my hours start increasing through the weeks, I need to actually do it in the evening as well. So I'll do it after my workout. So obviously I've had quite a few meals in at that point, and I'll do, depending on how long I need it for that week, it'll be around half an hour up to an hour. Normally I might change the equipment, because my legs are smashed by then. You know, my hamstrings, my lower back, or my soleus, my calves are quite battered, so I might jump on the bike just to ease the stress around the body. It's all about managing it, guys. You have to manage it. You have to kind of like, right, my back is sore, my calves are really sore, let's jump on the bike, or let's do some rowing or something along those lines, where you can kind of move the stress somewhere else. But either way, I build it from 3 to 10 hours. Okay guys, let's talk about supplements. It's in the word, it's a supplement. It's to supplement your food. So don't rely on supplements. Food is your main thing. So within my 10 months, my off season, I like to involve obviously whey protein, BCAAs, creatine. Those are my main sources, and casein sometimes at night. But most of that will stay my cutting phase. But my creatine, I keep the off season mainly. So I normally have 10 grams of it post workout with my shake, with my whey protein shake. Also I forgot to mention, if I sometimes can't get the food in, or if I'm like got something on, or you know, we all live busy lives, I'll have a mass gainer. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Just smash that in. That's boom, ding 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 ding. Calories consumed. That's the word. But yeah, so I would hit that in as well off season. Coming into my cutting phase, I'll keep mainly most of all those supplements except the mass gainer, and I'd like to reduce my creatine. Just me personally, I mean, just my preference. But my whey stays in the morning. I have whey after workout, and I'll have the casein at night. My BCAAs, I have tab form, so I kind of just chuck it in with water with my meal. So I'll have about 2 to 3 grams with every meal I have, just so I know that my muscles, you know, I'm getting the BCAAs straight to my muscles, helping the building phase, or helping maintain muscle whilst I'm doing cardio. Because my cutting phase, I'm doing a lot of cardio. I am doing a lot of cardio, so I need to try and maintain as much muscle as possible. So the BCAA helps. So I have it with every meal. That's right. So sometimes it tallies up to about, you know, 20 grams of BCAA, sometimes more. So yeah. And just to quickly finish up on rest, make sure I have at least 1 day rest a week, sometimes 2, depends on how I fit my muscle groups together. Sometimes I might double up, so I get that extra rest day. But make sure you have a rest day. I always believe in a rest day. Some people train 7 days a week, but for me, I need a rest, just mentally as well. Sleep-wise as well, I like to have about no less than 6 hours if I can help it. Anything after that, you're good to go. 8-9 hours, you're laughing, you know, you're pushing hard. And trust me, you will know the difference from having 4 hours to 8 hours. It's massive difference in the gym. And especially if you're doing it on a regular basis, that accumulates. It accumulates, and you can kind of, you know, lose gains, you know, if you're not getting enough sleep. And it kind of catches up to you, and you can fall ill. Okay guys, so hopefully, joking, hopefully all these points have helped. I mean, this is how I managed to have my best transformation over 10 months, where I went from 89 kg on stage, okay, to 96 on stage at the Olympia. So I qualified in San Marino of November 2015, and I stepped on stage September 2016 at 96 kg. So I went from 89 to 96. So make sure you make notes of all what I've said. I mean, you have to change things around for yourself, but this is how I did it. And just make sure you train really hard. I mean, yeah, I was in that gym for a long time, but I was training hard. I don't know, you may have seen some of my videos. If you haven't, then have a look at my YouTube channel. You know, I train really hard. It's just really hard. So yeah, make sure you train hard, you eat well, be consistent with your food. Don't have 3 days where you eat really well and you're eating everything, you know, all on time, and then you have 2 days where you're just kind of like, oh, I can't be asked, have this, have that. Trust me, be consistent. It will happen. Your body is taking in all these nutrients to help replenish and repair all your muscles to build. Especially if you're training hard, guys, you need to really rest. I mean, there's no such thing as overtrain if you're not resting, if you're not eating properly. That's what I believe in. So rest and eat properly, and trust me, you will make those gains. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, yes, if you've enjoyed it, then make sure you subscribe and give me a thumbs up, guys, as well. Give me a thumbs up on this video. I mean, I kind of planned it. I planned this video for you guys. I actually planned the video, so you know, I didn't want to miss out anything for you guys. So make sure you give me a thumbs up, comment below, subscribe, and even share it on your Facebook page or profile, whatever you want to call it. Until next time, hopefully, if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about as well, comment that below. I mean, I'll be happy to cover any topics sometimes I'm sitting there, okay, what do these guys want to hear? What do they want to listen to? Suggest it for me, guys. Anyway, see you soon.